Hi there, this is Phil with PhilFX, and I've got another Maya tutorial. Today I want to talk just a little bit about the two primary coordinate systems that are used in Maya, and that's world coordinates and local coordinates. You've heard me mention both of those terms in class. I wanted to take just a little bit of time and demonstrate what the difference are between those two. So let's get started here. So let me get a shape and grow this a little bit. And so we have a sphere here, and when we talk about the different coordinate systems, it's in relation to how we move things. If I look at the attributes here and I look at the transform node, you can see the transform attributes here, and we can see, if I go down here, and here we have world space and local space. And what that pertains to is world space never changes, okay? World space is the world. Maybe the way to think of it is you think of the classroom, and if we go to the back corner and we put a coordinate axis there, the coordinate axis is always there. It doesn't move, it doesn't translate, it can't be rotated, and anything that's relative to those world coordinates, we can take any point in space. So if I'm holding up an eraser, let's say, in front of the classroom, that eraser can be uniquely located through world coordinates in X, Y, and Z. And you would be able to see that there. Now, there is then also local coordinates. Local coordinates are relative to the object itself. So I can describe that eraser in local coordinates, and the local coordinates have to do with only the eraser. And if I took and rotated that eraser in space, the local coordinates stay the same, but obviously the world coordinates would change, all right? So let me demonstrate that here. So we have the sphere here, and I'm looking at it, and if I want to take and I want to transform one of these faces, all right? I can go in and I can put this in component mode and select face, and I can select a face, and we want to do a move. So let's look at the tool settings for moving. And we can see here the axis orientation, the default, it sets it up to move it relative to world coordinates. Well, if I move it relative to world coordinates, I've selected this face. If I go in and grab and I pull on this, you can see that face is moving, and it's moving relative to the world coordinates. The world coordinates essentially is the grid here. So in Y going up, X going this direction, and Z going this direction coming out, you can see that I have moved this, and it's moved relative to the world coordinates. If I go in and change this, and let's change this to object, and let me grab another face, and I want to move that, well, it doesn't look much different. It doesn't look much different because in its current position, the object coordinate system and the world coordinate system look the same. So let's go in, and I'm going to go in and grab this object, and let me put a rotation on this object. So I can rotate this object, and let me twist this. I can leave it at the center just to demonstrate what I want to do here. But now I go back in, and let's go back in, and I select world, and I'm going to select a face. So I'm going to select this face, and now I want to do a move on it. And I'm going to do the move in world coordinates. Notice how that shifted? So if I pull on this, again, it's pulling relative to world coordinates. But if I select this face, and now I go over here and say object, now it's oriented around the object's position. So if I pull on that, it's going to pull it out. Let me twist this a little bit. You can see the difference, okay? So this aligns with the plane, which is our world coordinates. This aligns with the object. And there's even a third one that you want to pay close attention to, especially when you're doing moves. And so I can move things relative to the component. Well, the component here is the face. So if I select a face and I go to axis orientation and I say component, Now you can see that that is normal to the face that I selected, and I can pull that out. Another thing that component does is if I select multiple faces, so if I take this face, shift select that one, this one, and that one, it takes the average of the ones that I've selected. Notice that, see it's in the middle there? And then if I want to pull on that, it's going to pull in component mode, okay? And it's going to take the average of the face positions of the faces. So you can see that when you move things, moving things in world coordinate, it never changes. The world is always the same. You're moving things relative to the initial grid that you established. When you move things relative to object mode, it's the position that the object has been shifted. If the object hasn't been translated relative to world coordinates, then object and world coordinates are going to be the same. If you have moved it or rotated it, then depending upon what movements or edits you're doing, you may wish to change this and do things relative to world or object orientation. One of the places where we see this often is in the extrude command. So let me go in here and I'll grab a face. And if I go up here to do an extrude, you can see we get this little button up here. What this button does is this button switches between object coordinates and world coordinates. So right now you can see how that's pointed. That's in object mode. Okay, so it's going to extrude relative to the object's coordinate system. If I click on it, now it is shifted and it is shifted to world coordinates. So if I did an extrude now, I will extrude relative to world coordinates. Okay, so let me grab another face here to demonstrate that. So I can have this face here, and we're going to go up and we're going to do an extrude, and it defaults to the object. All right, it always defaults to the object. Then I want to switch it. I can switch it to world. Now it's world. Then we can switch it back. Now it's object. So now I can do an extrude, and it's going to extrude relative to the object coordinate system, not the world coordinate system. So hopefully this will help you out in understanding the differences between object and world coordinate system, and we'll explain this little blue button that you've seen when you've been using the extrude command. So this has been Phil with PhilFX. Thanks a lot.